Welcome to Black Spring. Today I have a U.S. Navy veteran and congressional candidate of California's 43rd District, Joe Collins. Welcome, Joe. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing very well. I'm blessed. Thank you. How about yourself?
Doing very well. Thank you. I'm very excited to have you on this morning. And excuse me, for one, you have a very unique story of courage, and it looks like you've become quite a bit of a soundboard around the state of California during this pandemic and some of the post-flatten the curve lockdowns. But before we get into the politics, can you just give us an overview about your beginnings and the area that you grew up in?
All right. I'm Joe Collins, and U.S. Navy veteran, like you said, 13 and a half years. I'm from South Central Los Angeles. I was born and raised, and Maxine Waters was a representative at that time, and moved out of South LA whenever I got into high school because our house was shot up in a drive-by. Gang activity was like really high around that time, and so my mother moved us to Texas, right outside of Dallas, and joined the Navy in 2004. And I got out the end of 2017 to get involved in politics. And one of my biggest things was because I am retired right now, I wanted to give back. I didn't want to be the type of person that make it out the hood for whatever reason and then just leave. We have a younger generation that are coming up right now, and they need positive leaders outside of hip hop and R&B, strong leaders in sports, strong leaders in politics, and in hip hop. And so I want to be able to give back to the community. I want to be able to be a role model and example, be the person that provides more opportunity and value to the people who live in the district right now.
Wow. Oh, that's very inspiring. So just a little bit on like resilience kind of factors. I mean, when you've been in your lifetime, like are there certain values or things that you turn to when you're maybe faced with something that's maybe like an unfavorable odd or maybe even an adverse situation, something that might affect your goals or your career? I mean, what is there something that you turn to, a certain resilience factor that you've had in your life?
You know what? That's a great question. That's the first time I actually ever been asked that question. One thing that I do is I pray. I pray to myself. And then another thing that I do is I remember something my grandfather told me when I was young, and he said, whenever you're faced with a situation, everything thinking in your head, 100% of the time is not going to go, directly how you see it. It's always going to be different. And so I reflect back on that, and I also reflect on what my uncle tells me. He says there are situations that you can control, and there are situations that you cannot control. He says whatever you can control it, but if you can't control it, let it go, because there's really nothing that you can do about it. And so when I'm faced with a decision, I know that there is a future, and I'm going to be in that future, but the present is going to happen. And so you make whatever decision you feel like is best, and whatever happens, you're going to be okay.
Wow, that's really great. So you've had a strong, like a male figure that you've been able to gain inspiration and fortitude. That's what it sounds like.
I'd like to think so.
Wow, that's great. Now, from there, I just like to go just to tiptoe just a little bit into the political convictions, just a little bit. What can you say? What has kind of shaped your convictions about politics or civics, or can you say that has changed? I mean, has your convictions or your thoughts on politics, have they changed over the years?
Kind of. I grew up in a Democratic house, and we didn't know why we were Democrats. We were just Democrats because they said that you're black, you're Democrat. Joining the military was a game changer for me because that's when, 18, you can vote, you can actually choose what you want to be for yourself. And I say this all the time. My mentors tell me you choose your political party as well as the people who you're going to vote for based off your own values and what they're going to bring to the table. And so that's what I've kind of lived my life by. I feel like people's political party preference is their own, personal opinion, and your opinions are given to you by God. The person who you are, how you're made. And so I don't feel like I should be anybody to bash what political party preference or political opinions that people have. So it doesn't really matter, the people who I vote for, whether they're Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, or any other small party or even independent, as long as they have, good values and they want to bring opportunities. So that's mainly what I stick with.
Wow. So when you say that, your family was majority, mostly Democrat, was that something that did you ever question why that was the majority, or were you curious about the other side, or did you have friends that were of the other party, or
Not till I joined the military. You join the military, you meet a lot of people who are apt to think for themselves, or who are already influenced by major parties or social issues, and so you get to talk to these people and find out the reason that they chose to be whatever it is. But when you grow up in a black community, the majority of our representatives are black Democrats for some reason. And even when you look at the spectrum between inner cities that are ran by Democrats, whether they're black, white, or Hispanic, and then you see the cities that are ran by Republicans, the contrast is so great. In the inner cities, we have poverty, we have gangs, we have no quality healthcare facilities, we have no quality jobs. And then when you look at the cities that are ran by Republicans, you see like huge amounts of economic development, quality jobs, low taxes, low cost of living. And so when you're picking and choosing your battles, it's like, do I really want to keep associating myself with something that has hurt myself and my family for so long, or would you like to move over to something new where you can have the opportunity to grow and actually prosper in America? And so, that's where the ideologies come from. But my family still talk trash to me about being a Republican. They talk trash about Donald Trump, whatever. It's all in good fun, but I stopped responding to it, so now they kind of like gave up on it.
wow, wow. Well, I know that's it's a tough crowd. I mean, if I can, to say the least, to even challenge in in the black community, to even challenge the people that are closest to us, to just, can you think about this in a different way, or can you tell me why? Can you give me something more factual? Can you give me something based on a policy? Can you give me something based on a historical fact, rather than just emoting, or just going with a popular, with more of a popular belief, or a trending belief? Because I think I think, and then after that, the other extreme is a disconnect, because you'll have some that'll say, "Oh, well, I don't get into politics," and I think that's kind of, that's a part of the mass. Well, that's kind of where, you're more influenced if you're not getting involved, if you're numb and you're not actively, at least keeping your ear a little bit, to the grindstone, to even know what's going on. So I think that kind of plays into, the type of voter that we could turn out to be as well. It affects that as well. So I just wanted to ask also, can you tell us your ideas on government, or what do you think the government's role, what's the government's role in the community, or how much government do you think can actually make a difference, or what reforms that would you like to see, or that are different than what's in place right now, would you like to see, just based on the demographics of your community, or what you've seen?
Yeah. When it comes to government, I think too much of anything is always bad for you. And right now, we have too much government reach within our community with social programs, and they use these social programs as, "Oh, we're helping you out, we're helping you out." But anytime you take something from the government, even time you get something from the government takes something from you. So, they give you a social program, but then they slowly take your rights away and they take your freedoms away. And that's one of the biggest issues that we have, especially in the inner cities, and it creates a dependency. People are dependent on the government, like even through the COVID-19 pandemic, and they need to tell people, you got to stay at home, you got to stay at home, and we're going to continue to provide you the media, like less than bare necessities for people to be able to live, and they're willing to accept this on a day-to-day basis because this is what they're used to. And I think that's always bad. It takes away from the majority of the people drive and ambition to want to go out and become successful, or have a successful future for their children. When it comes to policy changes and reforms, one thing that I would like to do, and this is one thing that really makes me upset about the Congressional Black Caucus, is I would like to get rid of all the laws that were put in place that targets Black communities, like the 3 strikes, the crime bill, even red line banking laws. Get rid of all of that stuff so it'll put everybody back on a level playing field. And I think even for right now, when they signed the civil rights bill, try to start repealing that back, because the civil rights bill hurts the Black community more than it actually helps, because it put us on a lower playing field by giving us more government reach into our lives. And those are some of the things that I would like to see, as well as more economic development, more opportunities for people of color to be able to create not just businesses, but corporations, school freedom of choice, and get more innovation into our inner city schools, and be able to enhance our athletic programs as well as our, STEM programs, bring those back into our schools as well.
Wow. That's very insightful, and I think that's a great, that's, beyond a great starting point for the communities, and definitely it would give, the liberty, the individual, empower the individual. So on to just one other point. I just want to say that most recently, you've been associated with Freedom and quite a few rallies around the state, and I think your campaign is Live Free. Can you tell us just a little bit about the inspiration for your campaign? And I'd love to hear about the inspiration for your campaign. And you're running against the incumbent House Representative Maxine Waters. So if you could just tell us a little bit about the inspiration for your campaign. It's pretty vibrant, and you have a beautiful American crowd. I've seen, from all over the state.
Yeah. So here's how all of that got started. Whenever the pandemic came through and they shut down everything in California, people were hurting. It seemed like people forgot about the senior citizens, can't take care of themselves, living on Social Security, the homelessness. Like, people completely forgot about homeless and low-income families. They shut down businesses, and I think a lot of people understand that a lot of people who own small businesses use those small businesses to take care of their families, as if someone who goes to a 9-to-5, the concept is still the same. It's not a major chain corporation. And so I found myself donating money from my campaign to different organizations that were taking care of the people who lived in my community. We were giving out free food. We were giving out hygiene equipment and cleaning materials and everything. And I felt like this is what the government should be doing, especially here in California, when the cost of living is so high. They tax us for absolutely everything. And Governor Newsom and people who support him, unfortunately, who is people like Maxine Waters, has done absolutely nothing for us. They created tons and tons of bills and funds for illegal immigrants, but they've done nothing for the people who've actually paid into these to these states with taxes. And so I was contacted by the We Have Rights organization, who created Live Free, and I partnered with the LA chapter, who is co-hosted by my buddy Eric Rodriguez. And so we've just been rallying. The cool thing about it is he works on a lot of the logistics for the rallies, and I work on the marketing and promotion for the rallies. And it's been a beautiful thing. And this past rally in San Francisco, we had the We Have Rights organization, the Live Free and the Freedom Angels. We also had the Proud Boys out there. We had other people who were running for office out there. And it wasn't how the mainstream media looks at, oh, it's a Republican rally or a MAGA rally. We were actually individuals, tons and tons of organizations who came out for the same cause, like no forced vaccine, school choice, open up California, give us resources to our community. But my main proponent is, if for me, if you're going to shut down the government, you should be at least providing resources to the people who are hurting by, the poor decisions that are made by the government shutdown in California. And so I wanted to open the government and provide resources as the two options. And so right now they're leaning more towards opening up the government because it's obvious that they're not going to give us anything.
Wow, that's incredible. Well, that's great. You have great. You've got great outreach and lots of partnerships there. That's fantastic. Well, I also would like to ask, when you approach citizens in the community, whether it's in the community or statewide, I mean, how can you tell me what that response has been like? Can you share a little bit of that?
Um, it's interesting sometimes. Me being from South Central Los Angeles, my grandfather used to have the biggest black church before, like, mega churches was a thing. So a lot of people in the community already know who I am. But when they find out that I'm a Republican, it's just like, they kind of back off a little bit. But I mean, for me, I always keep it 100, and I tell the truth about how I feel about certain things. And then when you start talking about issues that are going on in communities, and people started realizing that they are asking the people who created the problem to fix the problem that they're never going to fix, because if they were going to do anything, it would have been 30 years ago. And so I start talking to people, and I'm telling people what I'm already doing as far as being able to put programs linked with NASA into our high schools, and creating, we have an airport redevelopment project that we're working on, and creating a pipeline with our aerospace industry to be able to provide jobs to people in the community without having college degrees, and things that resonate with, like, basics that resonate with people. They tell me, me being in a heavily Democratic district, sometimes I may not like Donald Trump or the Republicans, but I'm gonna vote for you. So that's what I get a lot of, and I rock with it. I think it's cool, and I'm bold about my approach, especially being a Republican, because a lot of people don't expect Republicans to reach out to the inner cities because you just don't see it. So we actually set our office up in South Central Los Angeles, also just to drive the point home that I'm not going anywhere, and
Wow.
they respect it. They respect it.
Wow. That's that's excellent motivation there. That's great to hear. Well, and I will say, for one of my final questions, can you give us some differentials on the campaign versus the incumbent, Maxine Waters?
Okay. Maxine Waters has been in the district for about 32 years. She's 82 years old. She's not as effective as she used to be back in the days. If you would call, how she moved effective. We have no economic opportunities, economic developments for the people who live in the district. She's been able to run her campaigns based on, I like this rhetoric where you talk trash about the other people and make people side with you by making them feel like they have no other choice because everybody hates them. On my campaign, we give people the ability and freedom to choose, whoever you wanna vote for, but we're also going to give you the truth. We're in the community 24/7. We're always doing things in the community, and just to be visible out in the community. We work with a lot of organizations to provide opportunities, especially during the pandemic where things are closed. Maxine Waters isn't doing that. And we also, we give a lot of money from our organization, from the campaign, to different organizations to be able to help the communities as well. So everything that we do is pretty much, it's community-based. It's not, in my opinion, people would say, well, it's campaigning, but it's not. I hardly bring up the fact that I'm running for Congress. Everybody else brings up, oh, he's running for Congress, and so that's how they know. But I just want to be a beacon of light and hope in the community, be able to provide opportunities, be able to increase the quality of life and the value for the people who live in the district, and show them something that they've never seen before.
Excellent. Well, I just also want to I just want to extend any final thoughts that you might have for the audience, and also if you could, just let us know where we can find you or where they might follow you throughout your journey. And yeah, I'd love to hear any final thoughts you might have to share.
All right. So for final thoughts, I would say this: like, don't be afraid to pursue whatever it is that you feel like you want to pursue, whether it's professionally or personally. Well, we all have a path that God wants us to take. So go forward without regrets. Everything is going to be all right. And I want everybody to get involved in politics because you never get anything done if you don't vote. And if you feel like your vote doesn't matter, then it doesn't, because you're never going to exercise that right. We're at a time right now where we need, especially all of our young people, to start standing up and taking an active role, an active leadership role in our communities, in our states, in our local and federal government. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Collins for Congress 43. You can find me on Twitter at Joe Collins 43rd, and my website is joecollinsforcongress.com.
Excellent. What a great message. Lifelong voters and civic awareness. I thank you so much for joining me on this segment of Black Spring, and also I thank you for your service, and I want to thank everybody else for joining me on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn.